This episode is brought to you by Espolon Tequila. Slow, sticky, snoozy. They call these the dog days of summer. But Espolon? They don't do boring. Welcome to the Marg Days. Espolon Tequila. 100% blue Weber agave, born to shake up your summer. Just add lime, agave, and a little attitude. Visit espolontequila.com. Espolon Tequila, 40% alcohol, volume 80 proof. Copyright 2025 Campari America, New York, New York. Drink responsibly.
I think today is a day where we can all go and sleep very pleasantly because we all know that a Ferrari is the fastest car in Formula One. And there is nothing that makes you as relaxed and as happy and as satisfied, or santusht is the word I'd like to use in Hindi on the broadcast tomorrow, when a Ferrari is on pole. Nothing better than that, Kunal. Nothing. We're all Ferrari fans, as Sebastian Vettel once said. And we are all so happy to see Leclerc first, and then the margins being so close. 5 cars within a tenth and a half, and Lance Stroll was not half as bad as we thought he would be as well. He was incredible. So I think today is a celebration on multiple counts. Fast Ferraris and our favorite driver in the top 6.
I have to ask you, who's your favorite driver if it's not Carlos Sainz?
Lance Stroll, of course.
Yes.
Of course it is.
It's good. I mean,
Yeah.
what a session, because, firstly, I have to say a big thanks to Leclerc, okay? Because had he not put it there on pole ahead of the McLarens, we wouldn't be so excited about the race tomorrow, because this race, this circuit is like custom built for that McLaren package. Okay, they would have run away, managed the rear tires better than everyone else. And we saw those gaps. The gaps they were pulling on everyone else were fantastic. And you know what? I was actually wanting to say this in the preview, but you guys didn't let me talk about the circuit. So now I'm going to talk about it. But my point is, in Spa, the reason why the race was boring was actually Charles Leclerc. Why? Because he blocked Max Verstappen from attacking McLarens. And Somil, if we think back into 2025, some of the most exciting races have been because Max has gone and attacked the McLarens. Leclerc hasn't been attacking them. He's been therein or thereabouts. Russell hasn't been attacking them. Again, therein or thereabouts. Okay. But because we've seen Max battle the McLarens, we've been entertained, and Leclerc robbed us of that entertainment in Spa. Maybe this is his way of paying back, saying, guys, you know what? I will entertain you guys on the Sunday in Hungary.
Oh, he's entertained us on the Saturday as well. A first Ferrari pole position since Azerbaijan last year, 21 races ago. And when Charles Leclerc last took pole position, Oscar Piastri had just 1 win and no poles. Now he has 4 poles and 8 race wins. Time has flown by since then, and a lot has changed. And you're right about that, Kunal, because tomorrow, suddenly the question is, are the McLarens quick enough with their tyre management to be able to dethrone Charles Leclerc? And can Leclerc sustain it? And the best part is, the Ferraris have generally been worse in qualifying and better in the races this year. And it's a lot for us to watch for.
Yes, and what you just said is so critical, because Leclerc has been saying all along, I just need to qualify higher up. I just need to qualify higher up. And he did qualify higher up than anyone else today. And I'm gonna put it this way. McLaren will not have the outright pace to overtake him. Remember, this is Hungaroring, literally 1.5 overtaking positions, entry into turn 1. Hopefully, if you're lucky, after turn 2, you do a switch back and you try and make a move. But if you're in the World Drivers' Championship battle, how much risk are you going to be willing to take? And I'm, of course, talking of Piastri and Norris. But the key part for me is exactly this, that will they be able to overtake on track, or will the McLarens have to wait till race strategy unfolds? Because this is mostly going to be a 2-stopper. And if it is dependent on race strategy, will they prioritize the driver who's ahead, or will they try and score a win? And I'm going to repeat what I just said. So let's assume this scenario. Leclerc is first, Piastri second, Norris is third. Okay. They could play 2 against 1 by pitting Norris to put Leclerc under pressure to do something, thereby getting Norris to undercut Piastri, because the undercut is very, very powerful here. Or will they continue to be fair with their drivers. They've usually been fair when they know the win is coming their way. But tomorrow, will they sacrifice the driver who's just behind Leclerc to try and give the team a better chance to win? I'm excited to see those dynamics play out on the McLaren pit wall.
Yeah, likewise. I feel they're in a situation where they can focus on both the drivers individually, give them the option to decide, because McLaren have a huge lead in the Constructors' World Championship. Almost, in fact, double of what Ferrari have scored, over 250 points of an advantage. So they don't need to worry realistically about the win. Of course, it's a little bit of a bonus, but they can focus on maintaining happiness between the camp, which means it could well come down to the old Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard rule of whoever reaches the first corner first. Or by that, I mean, it's going to be so hard to overtake at Hungary. So effectively, the first corner is going to be the important checkpoint in this relationship and the decision-making process of who gets the prioritized stop. So turn number one, there's going to be a fight, which could further play into Leclerc's hand, because if the McLarens are fighting for track position early, it gives him opportunity to breathe. And importantly, from what I'm reading in the paddock, Leclerc seemingly is a little faster on the straight lines. Now, that could be down to engine modes or a setup thing. If it is indeed setup and he's running a lower downforce setup than the McLarens, it's going to be tough to pass him, because where else do you pass, right? You need some straight line speed. And Leclerc today in qualifying, looking at the data, was pretty quick in the first sector, in the straights, and also in the chicane attacking turn 6 and 7, the technical part in the middle of the circuit, which is proper big balls territory in a way. So he's been doing great. And it's actually going to be a very, very tough race for McLaren to win. But if there's some respite, Kunal, 2 stoppers, and if the weather is slightly warmer than it was in Q3, where conditions changed, there could be a McLaren win on the corner. Just the question is, how does it all play out? And who gets strategic advantage, as you said?
And I have one point of view which is different. Even if it's the driver who is first at the first corner, is prioritized, is ahead on track during the pit stops, they will they be okay finishing second and third and letting Leclerc go to maintain team harmony? Or will they say, you know what, we got to win everything we can, even though we are double the points and Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, and hence we're going to just go all out and use our driver who's in third position to try and attack Leclerc. And then even if it means we use team orders later, or even if it means, because this race last year, they did use team orders to give, Oscar Piastri's first race win. So that's the scenario that I am eager to see. What is McLaren going to choose? Team harmony, or that ruthless cutthroat saying, I'm going to win, doesn't matter with which driver? In which case, okay, will being the second McLaren driver on the road during the pit stops actually be beneficial for the win tomorrow? Let's see how it goes. We've got Abhishek on the stream right now. He's saying the only way I see anyone other than McLaren winning is if Lando and Oscar collide, or the team gets caught between not knowing how to position one for the win. They still have so much pace. Yes, they do have pace, but I don't believe that their pace advantage is enough or is higher than the overtaking delta required. And I believe McLaren's main pace advantage is coming in sector 2, which is anyway a narrow part of the circuit where you're just following each other, whether you're in a DRS train or not. So let's see how this all pans out, Abhishek.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy fun race. And I'm excited. I'm excited because I can't genuinely remember the last time Charles Leclerc won a Formula One race. It must have been a long time ago. Do you remember?
Is this where we all open up our Google Sheets and be like, oh, when did he actually win a race last? But because it wasn't Baku last year.
No.
Right? So
no, yeah, in fact. Yeah, you guys should let us know in the comments if you remember. I know there are a lot bigger Ferrari fans than we are here. So if you guys can remember and just help us out in the digging process, that would be lovely. But the last I remember, Kunal, it would be Italy. No, US last year. He won US last year. Are you kidding me?
In Austin, was it?
Yeah, I do not remember that race at all.
If you don't remember it, I shouldn't even try.
Wow, that's a long time ago. But, while Leclerc has done excellently in qualifying, his teammate thinks that because Leclerc has done well and because he's on pole position, something's up with the second driver. and that the second driver needs to change, and that they're terrible. And it's just paraphrasing, but that's the kind of stuff that Lewis Hamilton said. His exact words are very worrying, Kunal.
He said, I'm useless and they need a change in driver. And I understand he's emotional. But what's actually happened as a result of that, and this is where people might not be very pleased with what I'm going to say, but what's going to happen, or what has happened, is Leclerc has grabbed pole. Okay, Abhishek confirms it was 2024 at Kota when Leclerc last won. But yeah, Leclerc has gotten pole. Okay, but Lewis has grabbed those headlines. That's the problem. Now imagine you've turned a negative scenario for yourself. Of course, he's not said this with the view to get grabbing those headlines, but the media has of course turned it around, because Lewis Hamilton being negative, being harsh, being hard on himself generates more clicks than Leclerc saying, I don't know what happened. Motorsport surprises me today. And sticking on to Leclerc, one of the other things he also said, which wasn't on the broadcast feed, was he said Q1 and Q2 were so terrible that he had no idea that his Q3 lap was good enough for pole position. But before we go to Hamilton, Somil, we should discuss what exactly happened in Q3.
Yeah.
Right? Because how did McLaren go out of their sweet spot? How did Ferrari come into the sweet spot? And before I explain this, one question to you. Do you think Leclerc grabbed pole, or do you think the McLarens dropped it?
Oh, I think life made it tough for them. Like literally, conditions, wasn't it? The track temperature and the wind got much. The temperatures got lower at the circuit, and there was a lot more wind. Now, I'm not too sure how that affected the McLarens more, but my theory on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kunal, is that the McLarens and their advantage compounds when it's hotter, because they're able to save up their tires a lot better, especially in the final sectors of a lap. Like we saw this in Australia as well earlier this year. And a couple of other places too, where they were just able to keep the tires in for much longer. But when it's cooler, it matters less because there's more grip and you take less out of your tires. Is that what went down?
So yes, the track temperature was almost 50 plus degrees when qualifying started. By the time it ended, it was close to 35 degrees. So that cloud cover that came in cooled those conditions down. And I think that was one aspect. The second aspect was that the wind completely changed. And something Lando Norris said, he said, maybe we are just more susceptible to change in wind. And it changed 180 degrees, which is why the McLarens went 6/10 slower in Q3. And they just couldn't find their rhythm, as we'd call it. But in the end, this is what gives us that fight. And we are also here for a fight, says Uttara. And just to sort of further explain why I believe Leclerc is in a great position, he said, I'm going for the win. I'm in Budapest. I know how difficult it is to overtake at this track. If I look at the speed trap numbers, Leclerc was 314.2 kilometers on the speed traps. Okay. Lando Norris. So Leclerc was second fastest. George Russell was fastest with 314.3. Okay. Lando Norris was 310.9 and Oscar Piastri was 310.7. Lando is 13th and Oscar is 16th fastest in the speed traps. Yes, those 3.5 kilometers will matter, and you'll realize it even more tomorrow when you realize that they will matter when we hopefully see battles on track, Somil.
I think it'll be fun. And this is, I think, the second weekend in a row we're seeing McLaren curtailed or being put on a more high downforce approach. And that is tough for overtakes. And they haven't even gotten pole position this time out. In fact, it's kind of tricky, I was going through the numbers. Oscar Piastri has not taken pole position in 5 races. The last time he got it was in Spain, which is unbelievable to me. The fact that he's still leading the championship by that much, in spite of not having pole for the last 5 races, I think it's crazy. A hat trick of second positions for Oscar Piastri. And for Lando Norris, it's a very, very fun trend. First, third, which means he's going to get first in the Netherlands, clearly. But I find it to be very, very interesting. And the gaps, Kunal, I think that was even more fascinating. I love the fact that the conditions changed. I love the fact that it became cooler and more teams got into play, because it means that we have a lot of diversity in the grid. Like last weekend, Aston Martin were literally 19th and 20th with Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Today, 5th and 6th with the very same drivers in the exact same order. Formula One has never been this competitive and never been this unpredictable. And the fact that they were just a tenth and a half away, Kunal, it's unbelievable.
Yes, it was. And you mentioned the gaps. Why don't I just read out some of the gaps to explain what you're saying? Oscar Piastri was second. Leclerc, 27th career pole, the first of 2025. He's actually never been on the front row here, let alone be on pole position, Sommel. So for that, I think hats off to him for pulling that off. Also, this is the first time that a non-McLaren or non-Mercedes car is on pole since 2012 in the ground effects era. Okay. Oscar Piastri, 200th down in second place. Lando Norris, 100th down on Piastri in third place. Russell, another 100th down on Norris in fourth place. Alonso, 500th down. Okay. Of course, Aston Martin's best qualifying result in fifth place. Lance Stroll, another 100th down, his best qualifying result of 2025 on Fernando Alonso in fifth place. Then comes Bortoleto, who's 2/10 off. Okay, so that's the size, like top six, as you were saying, right there. Okay,
Yeah.
Verstappen was 3,000ths away from Bortoleto. Okay, Liam Lawson, who's now qualified ninth three times, was ninth, 900ths off, and Hadjar was another 900ths off. Isaac Hadjar remains to be the driver who's never been out qualified, or no, never faced a Q1 elimination in his entire Formula One career. I love that stat. It was his eighth Q3 appearance. Okay. Are we going to discuss Hamilton's challenges, or do we just go on to some of the positive stories?
No, I think we should, I think we should. Because I find it particularly fascinating that Lewis Hamilton was just 2/10 off Charles Leclerc in Q2. But Leclerc is now in pole, and Hamilton is all the way down in 12th place. That is how tough Formula One is. In fact, just to put it into context, Yuki Tsunoda had a similar afternoon. He was just a tenth and a half off Max Verstappen, but is 8 positions down compared to where Max Verstappen is. So this really goes to show how close qualifying is, and Lewis having a tough time. But clearly, Kunal, he is having a tough time. Leclerc has now found a solution out with this car. And I was just having this conversation with my dad before starting this recording about how tough it has become, Lewis, for qualifying in the last 4 years. And I just thought, okay, let's just check the numbers, right? Let's see how bad it is. In his last 4 Mercedes seasons, Lewis Hamilton had 30 poles. In the 4 seasons afterwards, there's just been 1. And it tells you sometimes how just being in the right car at the right time with the right team in the right environment can really make you, or rather help you, farm numbers. But for Lewis now, last 4 years, it's been very, very tricky. And some say it's down to the type of car he's driving. Maybe it just doesn't suit his driving style. Or do you feel he hasn't adapted it all along? Or maybe he's just not adjusting well to this generation?
I think it's a mix of these two. The ground effects car clearly is not something he's very happy driving with. And this is where, does the driver adapt to the car, or do you build the car to adapt to the driver? More agile drivers will adapt to whatever car there is. But Lewis has driven through so many eras of Formula One. It's unfair to call him less agile than some of the drivers out there. So I think it's just a ground effects one, which is why LH44 or Ham4C, as they call themselves now, are celebrating that 2026 will come back. We will not be a ground effects car. It'll go back to having a flat floor and so on. But Lewis Hamilton, clearly, if we just look at the numbers, firstly, let's remember the numbers. In Q2, he was 15.7 and Leclerc was 15.45. And the average gap between the two of them has been down to 2/10. Average gap was what played out in Hungary. Lewis didn't make it to Q3. Well, Leclerc did. Okay. And in fact, if I even talk of the gaps, the gap from P1 to P20 in Q1 was just over 1 second. Now, that's how close things are in Formula One. And if I can just tell you the Q2 eliminations that was there. Behrman, 7 times out-qualified Esteban Ocon, but also has been out-qualified by Ocon 7 times. So it's 7-7 head-to-head, 7,000ths in 11th. Lewis Hamilton for the 8,000ths away. Okay. Sainz 800ths away. 7th consecutive race of him not making it to Q3. Colapinto, well, 3.5 tenths off. And Antonelli, again, 2nd consecutive race of missing Q3 as well. So lots of small margins at play. We can take some questions out here. Viraj is saying Lando has been dropping the ball a few too many times now, and that's what Oscar is capitalizing on. Well, there are two things here. Lando has been dropping the ball, yes, but he's been dropping the ball far less since that suspension geometry change or suspension geometry addition that McLaren made to make him feel good. He's been there and or thereabouts. I think he's improved his average qualifying position. Oscar Piastri is at 2.14 average qualifying position. Norris is at 3.29. They are 1 and 2. But I remember there was a point of time in the season where Max Verstappen actually had a better average qualifying position than even Lando Norris. But having said that, I don't think Oscar's capitalizing on it. If anything, Oscar's pressurizing Lando to try and pressurize him to drop the ball. So that's probably what is at play. Abhishek is saying, if only Astons can figure out how they got from 10th row lockouts to 3rd row in 1 week, it'll make F1 stats crew one happy chap. The truth here is they actually brought a front wing, which is very circuit specific. It's an upgrade they brought to complement the very high downforce rear wings that they would run. And in fact, this is some of the, if there are teams who brought upgrades, they've brought a front wing upgrade to complement the rear wing. Okay. And then the second thing is that they've either got, brake or engine cooling upgrades that have come, like we spoke about yesterday. Either you choose reliability or performance, and that's the trade-off. So my view is that it's just the circuit characteristics that aid Aston Martin. The long, fast, sweeping corners of Spa were catching them out because aero efficiency's, been a challenge for them. Whereas here, which is more Monaco-like, lots of slow corners, traction corners, and direction changes that happen to be also within the slow and medium speed ranges, is what brought them into play out here. And I'm very happy to see Lance Stroll up there with Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, and it's genuine. The fact that Stroll is so close by, it's incredible. But yeah, F1 stats crew and all the Fernando fans would be relishing this. And knowing Fernando Alonso, knowing his racecraft, I can certainly say that battle is going to be very, very interesting for P5 because you've got Stroll, Alonso, Bortoleto, a charging Max Verstappen from 8th place, who we do not expect to be there, and the two Racing Bulls. And Haas, who always are better in the race than they are in qualifying. Incredible. More comments. Rajat says, as a Lewis fan, it just hurt me hearing his interview after he got into P12. What do you think Lewis will finish this race at? In the previous race, he started P18 and finished P7, but it was also an overtake-favored track compared to this one. And also last time out, we had changeable conditions where making the right pit stop and making the right call would reward you a lot more than it would under normal circumstances, like we expect them to be in Hungary in terms of weather. So it's going to be significantly more challenging. But
there is a 20 to 25% chance of rain tomorrow. So if anyone is going to do the rain dance, and if the rain comes, let's hope the FIA, let's hope the race control and the directors there make the right calls to give us those interchangeable conditions that test the drivers more than anything else, and that will probably be Lewis's best. But yes, very hurt to see him struggle on Saturdays, despite actually him being the pole position specialist as well. And Sommel's coughing. I remember sometimes having a cough and a sneeze while driving a race car. He, of course, is lucky enough to be able to do it while he's on mute. But if anyone told me 1 year ago, I'm reading out Saroj's comment, that a Sauber would out-qualify a Red Bull, I would have laughed out loud. Any thoughts on that, Kunal? Yeah. Actually, there are two thoughts. First is Sauber. Many thoughts now. I'm going to just, ramble. But what was the one change that Sauber made? They brought Matteo Binotto, the guy who made a really quick Ferrari. He was one of the best engineers, just not ready to be team principal. They brought Matteo Binotto. They got Jonathan Wheatley, people who know the sport. They know the engineering of the sport. And they are slowly and steadily turning this team around. So that's point number one. This also mirrors Red Bull's appointment. Christian Horner is not an engineer. He knows how to run the business of a racing team and the politics of a racing team, but they've brought in Laurent Mekies with engineering experience. And it's interesting to see this happen because, team bosses in time, and Samuel will know this, were always engineering heads. They were the ones
Yeah.
who were deciding how the car would go quick. Then gradually, as a lot of money poured into Formula One, team bosses ended up becoming businessmen who understood the business of going racing. They would hire engineers and do that. Now we're going back to that era where engineering heads are becoming team bosses. We saw Ayao Komatsu, we saw James Vowles. They're turning things around, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's also happening at Sauber. They brought an upgrade at the Spanish Grand Prix. That floor upgrade has brought them into play. And more than anything else, Gabriel Bortoleto. Okay. He's been in Q3 for 3 times in the last 4 races. He's outqualified Nico Hulkenberg, who's been the Mr. Saturday last year, Sommel. Okay. And Nico's often said, I just don't have a feel for the car in qualifying. And that's why I'm struggling so much. And that's why the minute Q1 ended, there was this, Nico Hulkenberg radio message. What was Gabby's lap time? And then there was an expletive that came out there as well. Rajat is saying, can we hope for under P6 for Lewis tomorrow? Well, I think he'll be in the points. I think it's just a difficult race to overtake. So let's see where he shows up as well. But what else have we got, Sommel?
Yeah, where do you think Max is finishing tomorrow, Kunal? Genuinely. He starts P8, Bortoleto, Stroll, Alonso in front. I think possible. I think it is very possible for him to be P5. Will he be good enough to challenge George Russell? I don't know. I'm betting Max Verstappen P5, and I'm betting Lewis Hamilton to be 10th, because that's a lot of cars for him to get past before he can actually fight for the top 10. 2 of them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a tricky race.
So who all does he have to battle? Behrman, Hadjar, Lawson, Verstappen. Yeah, maybe Lewis top, maybe top 8 for me, and maybe Max Verstappen top 5. I expect Max Verstappen to be doing different things. What are the chances of rain? We are reading on the radar, and I can actually just open up the official radar as well. That there's a 20 to 25% chance of rain tomorrow. Okay, the forecast definitely says that. So let's see if it rains. It'll be fantastic, I think, if it rains, and just hope that they are able to give us the much needed wet weather race that we are going for. The race start is at 3 o'clock local time. Well, the rain is the chances of rain are higher at between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So hopefully it's a wet race, which will sort of start off wet, dry off. I wish the race started at 10 or 11 in the morning. It says 60% chance of rain, Samuel.
Yeah, 60 would have been amazing. Maybe in that case, we would have seen Alex Albon jump over from P20 and maybe have something special, maybe a top 10 result. But that brings us to Abhishek's question. Any specific reasons or concerns why Albon was last today? I think it has a lot to do with an outlap, you say, Kunal.
That's correct. Alex Albon's outlap. He said we misread the temperature at which we needed to keep the tires prepared on our outlap in Q1. He said, because I did that, I entered turn 1 and 2 with the tires not being in the optimal range, and that was it for me. And he was just 1 second away from P1. So we know that gap, you make those slight silly mistakes, margins, as we say, and that just knocked him out. I can't remember when was the last time that a Williams car was actually 20th in qualifying. Not happened this year. It's for sure something that's happened in the previous years. I'm going to just go through that. I'm just curious to know. Yeah. When was the last time a Williams car was, maybe it was Nicolas Latifi. Colapinto was 19th last year. Sargent was 19th. And of course, there was Sargent last year. Sargent was slow 20th in Spain, in Imola, in China. But when was the last time Alexander Albon was 19th? Well, his worst last year was 16th place. Okay. So anyway, no, he was 19th in Spain as well. So anyway, Williams are on the recovery run. This qualifying was just a little absurd for them because neither driver made it to Q3, and Sainz, like I said, has been out of Q3 for 7 races now.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate how long it's been for them. One more comment. Don't want to jinx it, but I'm sure Lewis can overtake forecast for sure, says Rajat. Well, surely, will it be possible though? Tricky circuit. And at Hungaroring, as we saw in 2021, with Fernando Alonso defending against Lewis himself, is that passing is hard. And you need to make a properly good move around the first sector to overtake. It needs to be well executed. You need a great run all the way from the last corner, have a good exit at turn one. Hopefully, you get a better line heading into turn two and three, and enough traction for you to hang it around the outside. Because if you're on the inside line, it's going to be very tough for you to pass, and you need even more grip. It's a challenging circuit to overtake, and you literally need half the circuit to make it stick, which means a great run, great flow, and close enough to the other driver ahead, which would be around what, within the 0.6 seconds margin without losing time to dirty air. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a little bit tough, Rajat, to pass forecast tomorrow. But let's see if the GOAT has still got it.
Yeah, and that was beautifully explained because Somil, thank you for your Hindi commentary. Hopefully, we'll see more F1 fans in India soon, says Saroj. And I must say, I love listening to you and Chetan in Hindi, Somil. And it's something that I think is bringing in more fans into the sport of Formula One. Hats off to you and Fancode. And now, of course, I'm also patting my back a little bit because I will join you on the Hindi commentary broadcast tomorrow, halfway through the race, to see if there are any insights that I can share from all the data streams that I read in real time during a race sometimes. So, not sometimes, actually, all the time. But anyway.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah. So we will see you there tomorrow. Somil will be there with Chetan throughout. I'll join you guys for like 5 or 7 minutes. So hopefully catch you there.
Thank you, Saroj. Means a lot to us. Thank you.
What does Kimi need to do to catch a break? The upgrade wasn't a great one, but still. So Abhishek, interestingly, they've actually they've gone back on their upgrades. They've gone back to a settlement where, or they've gone back to a baseline which they feel comfortable with. Okay, and that's been the hope in Hungary that they're able to bring it back. They brought it back for George Russell. I think in qualifying in Q2, they should have given Kimi a little more room, a little more comfort to find. They could have probably just thrown an extra set of extra set of softs at him, saying, "Here you go, just go have some fun." I think they just put him under a lot of pressure, and that's what caught him out. I don't think he was out of depth like we probably saw in Spa in some places. I think it was just down to the fact that Mercedes has probably put him under a little more pressure, and they need to be a little more careful with him if they want to protect his talent, because seemingly he seems like a good driver. We just have to wait and see if he's that generational talent that Toto Wolff believes that he's going to be there. Lehigh, I think, is saying, unbelievable, this track is still here and Spa is going away. Well, Spa is technically not going away. It's rotating. Okay, but I think I love this circuit. I mean, what's not to love?
Why is Hungary catching strays suddenly? Like, what's wrong with Hungary? It's given us one of the closest qualifyings of the year. And in our episode yesterday, we discussed how many cool memories we have from the circuit. I don't know why Hungary is catching strays. Something must be up. Well, but yeah, I get the frustration behind it. But it's a good time, Kunal, to go to strategy. It's a good time to go to predictions. And it's a good time after that to also go to bed, because it's 12:15 in the night here in India. Tomorrow's a big day. So strategy-wise, two-stopper is what we're expecting, you say?
Yes. That's what Pirelli is hoping. That's what a lot of people are hoping. Why don't we just... There's also a different tire spread tomorrow. Okay. So Leclerc has 2 new hards. Okay. But Piastri and Norris have 1 new and 1 scrubbed set of hards. But largely, it's going to be a medium hard race, depending on where you start, of course. Interestingly, Alonso and Stroll have an extra used soft, a new, a scrubbed medium, and a scrubbed hard. So I think that the Aston Martins, are going to try and do something different. Maybe they'll try a one-stopper. Who knows? And they're hope for a late race safety car. If that happens, you heard it here first. There is also Bortoleto, who's got 2 mediums and 1 hard. So just within the top 10, there is so much variation. And Max Verstappen, of course, has 1 medium and 2 hards as well. So interesting to see what's going to happen, because I don't believe it's going to be a very standard, strategic or a standard distribution or strategy. and go from there. And Leah is saying Hungaroring, in my opinion, doesn't fit modern Formula One with these huge cars. Well, technically, then lots of circuits do not deserve these huge cars. The challenge is not the circuits, it's the car. And Viraj is saying, do you not remember Hungary 2021? And of course, there was the Fernando Alonso battling like a lion against Lewis Hamilton to let Esteban Ocon and Alpine score their first win. Yes, you guys can battle it out in the comments as well, but I think it's going to be a two-stopper, most definitely. Some of them will try two different variations, which is one is try and start on the soft, especially if you're lower down to gain positions. Okay, that could be one. And then the second is you just try and do a one-stopper, which if it is cooler, it might just come into play. But rule number one is do not get stuck in traffic after a stop, because it is impossible to pull off an overtake. It's so different from Spa. Spa was so fast, flowy, you pit when you want to and you are still able to make the overtake. But in Hungaroring, you better be very, very sure of your moves, Samuel.
Yeah, very, very much so. And we'll have to see how degradation plays out. How hot is it? How on tires are, because they barely get any respite here. And if it is very hot, you might just see it becoming a McLaren race. If it's cooler, the other teams might be in play. We'll see. We'll see if it'll actually be a two-stopper or if degradation will be lower than expected. And we might just get a Spa-like scenario where any tire you put on can go to the end. So we'll find out about that. But predictions, I'm going to go with my heart today. I am going to say Ferrari for the win, clearly. Yeah, I'm going to go Leclerc. It's one of those days, Kunal. We should let our mind rest sometimes and think with our heart sometimes. Today is one of those days, for sure.
I would say I'm going to go for Piastri for the win. Okay.
You've let your mind think.
No, it's not let my mind think. I just think that, imagine this. The McLarens were out of the window in qualifying, but he still managed to out-qualify Lando Norris. Even though the margin was really, really small, he still remembered to make sure that he still managed to make sure that he's ahead of Lando Norris. That was the key point. So I still get a feeling Oscar will be very, very decisive on that opening lap. We've seen Oscar Piastri battle Max Verstappen, and it's been fantastic. For the first time in our life, we're going to see Oscar Piastri battle Charles Leclerc, and that is also going to be
Baku last year.
We saw how beautiful that was. Correct. Yes, of course. And so I'm getting some compliments. I'm going to just read out. Kunal, just on the fun side, how do you manage to remember so many F1 stats? Is there a secret memory pit stop we don't know about? Well, there is a secret WhatsApp window which only Mithila and I access because there's a lot of data from several years in it. And also a secret document on Google, which I literally map every night. It has to be every night on what all I read, what all I assess, what my readings are. And I just use that to feed all the information I can on the live streams. And now on the Hindi broadcast of Formula One on FanCode.
A husband and wife who talk about Formula One and share F1 data. Like
with our 5-year-old daughter.
Can it be cooler than that?
Today we were driving into Oslo and she's like, Papa, are we doing purple sectors because it is raining? And I said, no, actually we do purple sectors only on the racetrack.
Man. That is the coolest. Viraj is saying, I would say most of us listen to our hearts on race days, Somal. That's, well, true. You're lucky. I have to listen to my mind on the race day. So today's one of those days when I'm going to let my heart out. Yeah, Leclerc for me, but Kunal's picking Piastri. What are your predictions, guys? What are your predictions? We would love to know.
Yeah, and Leah is saying if he doesn't mess up the start. Well, I don't remember the last time Oscar Piastri actually messed up a start, right? Abhishek is saying, I agree with Kunal, especially if Oscar overtakes Leclerc.
No, last time Oscar messed up the start, Miami, was it not? I think he had some battles over there with someone.
Yeah,
was it?
probably.
Or was
Yeah. Uttara is saying we need to see this document. No, that document is top secret stuff. But you guys anyway get to hear everything that comes through. I mean, it's a very, very nerdy document. What are your thoughts on Helmut Marko's words on Lewis? What did he say?
What did he say, guys?
What did he say? What did he say? I'm trying to get to chat with him.
Okay. Let's discover this together.
What did he say? Ferrari is handicapped by Lewis.
Wow.
Is
Those
that
are
what he
big
said?
words, man. Those are big words. I want to see the exact quote because I don't want to trust any headlines. But second place in the constructor standings is unrealistic because Yuki scores points too rarely. We're fighting for third place with Mercedes, said Marco. Very pinpoint, as Dr. Marco always is. Having a second driver is also a handicap for Ferrari with Hamilton and for Mercedes with Antonelli, he added. Wow. He is, he's right.
Well, he knows what it's like to run a one-driver team, which technically means that even Mercedes and Ferrari are almost one-driver teams.
Well, but he's got a point, Kunal, because Hamilton and Antonelli, last two races, none of them have made it into Q3.
That's true.
He's got a point.
Well, he always is a point. I know I will have a chat with him in the middle break. I'm trying to get him on the Inside Line F1 podcast. Do we really need to take Helmut Marko seriously? Leah, trust me. His racing sense, his understanding of the sport is so brilliant. He has been extremely kind to us on the Inside Line F1 podcast. Take every word of his very, very seriously. He knows what he's talking about.
And he doesn't mince his words, importantly.
Doesn't mince his words, no. On this very show, we've actually had a lot of conversations with him. You can go back and see some of those episodes. But I missed out a comment. Rajat is asking, who's your favorite team and driver? Somil, why don't you take this?
Well, I sort of lost a favorite driver when Jenson Button retired, and hence when that generation of McLaren retired with him too. So that's my pick, Jenson Button and McLaren. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel the same connection with the team or driver anymore. Not the same. And maybe Michael Schumacher, because of course, and Sebastian Vettel. So you can clearly tell I have a little bit of a hangover of the past. But best driver, Max Verstappen. I think I'm a fan. So yeah, there we are.
I would say my favorite of all time has been Michael, and at that time it was Ferrari. But now I just appreciate talent for what it is each time, and I know a lot of people don't see this as humanly possible, but that's the business we are in. We have to call talent as it is, and Max Verstappen puts in a great lap, we celebrate him. Lando Norris puts in a great lap, we celebrate him. Today we are celebrating Charles Leclerc. We're giving you as much neutral context if we can. Like I've always been honest. I love all the 19 drivers on the 2025 Formula One grid. No prizes for guessing who the 20th is. Although the 20th driver did do extremely well, to be just less than half a tenth away from his 2 times world champion teammate as well. But does Q3 matter that much, or points from the race? Well, Formula One is such, Rajat, that the higher you start, the better your chances of scoring the points are. If you look at Nico Hulkenberg, he's tied with Lance Stroll for 9 Q1 exits in 2025. Most number of Q1 exits in 2025 tied between Lance Stroll and Nico Hulkenberg. But Hulkenberg has more points. So technically, yes, you want those points, but you also want to be starting higher up so that you make your life much easier, right? And so it's both. Yes, points are crucial. You get bonuses when you score points, but if you start in Q3, your chances of getting points are that much higher, and hence the bonus as well. Viraj is asking, could we consider a scenario where an Aston is on the top step tomorrow? I would say, if the race is a one-stopper, I expect them to be on the podium.
What?
Yes, they are definitely trying.
What are you saying?
Yes. If Ferrari and McLarens are just trying to go to each other and, and what do you say, go at it with each other and try and get the race strategy just to get the lead, maybe an Aston Martin with a Lance Stroll starting on a hards or another alternative tire will probably just do something there. Who knows? I'm just contemplating scenarios. We're 42 minutes in. We should end this episode. We're actually 44 minutes in now.
Yeah, we can go on and on. We can go on and on. No, but guys, thank you for all of your comments. It's been excellent chatting to all of you guys. Great time having a chat with you guys. Krishna, LGH, Viraj, Uttara, Abhishek, Saroj. Yeah, we're missing out on a few people. But thank you for engaging with us. And thank you for being a part of this. We will be back soon after the race tomorrow. Hopefully
You mean
within
immediately after?
Yeah, hopefully within 30 odd minutes. We might need to just get a little bit of a meal in and just get ourselves refreshed because it's going to be an intense 2 hours tomorrow. It's as always is when it's Hungary. But yeah, we should be back within an hour after the race. So subscribe to the Inside Line F1 podcast. Sleep well, as SGS has said. We should all get some good rest.
We'll take Saroj's question on the stream tomorrow, Saroj. What's been your favorite moment of 2025? Oh my goodness, there's a lot of them, but we'll take them tomorrow. Let's all put our hearts and brains to rest, at least for you guys in Indian
Imola
Standard.
first corner. If you want a quick answer, that is unbelievable. But yeah, we should discuss all of it with more depth. But subscribe to the Inside Line F1 podcast, guys. Stay tuned to us and our activity immediately after the race, within 30 odd minutes. We should be here for the post-race stream. Click on the bell notification if you want to know more about when we go live, and you can get a live update. And to answer Krishna's final question... Yeah, we can go back a few minutes, Krishna. I think around 5-7 odd minutes we discussed what the strategies are. Two-stopper depends on the weather if it can be a one-stop or not. It's going to be very interesting. The hotter it gets, the easier it becomes for McLaren. And Leclerc's best chance is to be good at turn number 1. That's a quick summary for you. But we should rest, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow after the race. Have a good one. And catch us on Fan Code's live Hindi broadcast, where Kunal and I will be on the commentary box with Chetan as well. So see you guys. Take care and have a good night.